Thinking of buying your first home? Wow, that's amazing. But wait, don't make these mistakes. Welcome to the channel. My name is Vilagazi, and today we are talking about the biggest mistakes that first-time home buyers make. Mistakes like getting hit with unexpected costs or picking the wrong neighborhood and regretting it later. I've got with me Margaret once again, who is a real estate pro. She has seen it all. Stories of buyers who nailed it and others who, well, let's just say, learned the hard way. If you are buying your first home or you're even thinking about it, then this video is definitely for you. And hey, if you found this videos helpful, then please make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything and it will help us to reach more views. In this way, then we'll continue growing the channel and also provide you with very educational videos in the world of real estate so that you understand it and you are ready to invest or be part of the real estate world.
Read the fine print. Special condition, she needs to have insurance for her section of the block.
Since the whole block doesn't have insurance.
Absolutely.
So now she has to pay for your...
First time in 16 years that's happened.
Margaret, how are you doing today?
Thanks, Zuka. I'm doing really well. I wonder if you can imagine why. Why do you think I'm doing really well?
Let me guess. Maybe you had an amazing week. Maybe there are many maybe listings or sales that you were able to close this week.
Those would be lovely, but I'll tell you why. The interest rate went down.
Oh, the interest rate.
Absolutely. And it has such a big impact when that happens, which is so exciting for us as estate agents and for people in the public in terms of buying property. So very excited about the interest rate going down.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
So like when you look at the numbers, right, in terms of like the interest rates, you think if of course you don't have full understanding, you would think that it's very, how can I, it's a very small number, 0.25. But I'm sure that even though of course I have to like understand a bit better on how much does that affect the market in a way, but maybe you can enlighten us on how does
I
that
think it
affect.
has a snowball effect. So it doesn't just affect your future bonds, but it affects your current bonds. So, for example, I have a few properties that are bonded. So
Yeah.
this morning was really exciting. All the banks that I've got bonds with in my own personal capacity
Oh, yes.
contacted me to say your repayment now is XYZ.
Oh,
So
nice.
what that essentially means is that I've then got more money in my pocket to actually purchase other things, whether it's paying for school fees or things like that. So it's related to property, but it has a much bigger impact in terms of the household and in terms of buying groceries and paying for certain things. So it's actually really exciting because then we have got more money, cash in our pockets, because we're not paying the bonds at 11.25 or whatever the interest rate was.
So basically, do you mean like some of the properties that you are paying for monthly, just because the interest rates went down, does it mean like your repayments went down?
That's
Well?
right. So in real estate and in bonds in South Africa now, they don't have a fixed rate. In the past, you could actually secure a fixed rate on your bond. So, for example, if your bond was approved and had an interest rate of 12%,
Yes.
you could say to the bond originator, could you please fix it? And they'd fix it a few points above. So they'll possibly fix it at about 15 or 16%. That works really well if you've got a low interest rate to begin with. If it was
Oh, yes,
6%
then you
and you're
fix it
fixing
and
it
it's
at
not going to
8 would be lovely. They don't do that anymore. So we
Oh.
have a variable interest rate. Okay, so it means that the minute the interest rate goes down, your repayment goes down. So even the properties that we currently actually are moving through the process of transfer, the bond was approved last month and the repayments was quoted as XYZ. By the time we get to registration, because we've had a decrease in the interest rate, those repayments will go down.
Oh, amazing,
So
amazing. That's
really
amazing.
exciting.
That
Absolutely.
I was thinking that these interest rates are going down only now, and I'm thinking about the flat that we bought, and like everything is in the process, and I'm thinking, if we waited for just like a few more weeks,
so that
so it's not
interest
gonna
rate
affect.
on your purchase will actually come down accordingly. So
Oh,
absolutely. So
nice.
if you got prime plus one, it will then get decreased by the amount that it is now. So actually, it's really exciting then,
No, it's
because
good. It's good.
it's just fantastic. So no more fixed interest rates; they're all variable, and that's the way the mortgage industry works.
Oh, that's amazing. That's nice. I'm hoping that it's gonna keep on like going down and down and down
We're all hoping so. That'd be great.
to 6.5.
That would be fantastic.
I think that would be
Absolutely.
really good. That would be really
Absolutely.
good. I was reading a blog, an article that was written, I think, by the CEO of Southern Africa in a way, and he was like highlighting. I thought, like the way I understood it, he was highlighting how or what are the things or events that affect the interest rates, and he was speaking about inauguration of Donald Trump currently happening in the US and stuff like that. So I got to understand a bit of like how like the interest rates are affect or what affects them in a way. So I think that it was a good article to read.
Fantastic.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Then I think we will then jump straight into our today's conversation. I want us to really help. Today we're gonna focus only on the first-time home buyers. I want it to be like whoever like is watching here. If you are preparing to buy a house after this episode, you know exactly what is it that is expected of you and what process you will be going through. Like from the time from the time like your offer has been accepted all the way to the day where you move in. So the whole process is gonna be clear today through our conversation. Yeah, all right. Okay. So a lot of first-time home buyers hesitate in terms of like taking a decision or when the time comes for them to actually buy the house. It can be many reasons, but the reasons that I thought of was sometimes they hesitate because they think that maybe if they wait just a little longer, then there'll be something new that will come that is good. It's gonna be like a better deal. But at the same time, I don't feel like that is a good idea. But what is it that you have to say on that one?
So, in terms of that hesitation, it's not just first time homeowners, but we will focus on them. In terms of decision making processes, so essentially, it's got a lot to do with personality. So, some people can make decisions very quickly, and other people actually take a lot longer and find it difficult to commit. So, in terms of not wanting to commit, it could be because that's part of their personality and how they want to actually make decisions. So if you think about it, sometimes you'll see people, they're not buying a house, they're sitting in a restaurant, they've got the menu in front of them, and they cannot decide what to order.
Oh yes.
Whereas the person next to you knows exactly. They're going to have the salad. The next person is going to have the steak, and you think, I don't know what I should order. And you second guess yourself. Oh, if I order that, will it be big enough? Will I be full? Will I enjoy it? Those are the people that are going to second guess when they're buying a house. So what happens in the restaurant? You order, and I'm the one that's nervous about what I'm going to order. The food comes, and you look at your friend's food and you have food envy because theirs look much nicer than yours. Happens. Very similar to real estate. So you basically, it's about that personality in terms of, I'm going to make a decision. That's what I have on the menu. That's the house I'm going to buy. So it's actually part of that. So I can understand in some instances, it's got to do with the fact that it's an enormous responsibility and a huge decision to make to actually buy a house. Invariably, it's the biggest investment that you'll ever make. So it can't be taken lightly. So on the one side, we can understand the hesitation. And on the other side, we really do feel that there are sometimes barriers to actually taking that leap about, I'm going to actually buy this particular property. Sometimes what happens is, when a person's sitting on the fence, they're not sure. They've seen quite a few houses, and they're not too sure. Should they commit? Should they not? They might lose the house. Someone else might come and buy it. Or the other outcome is that you might find that they don't buy, and a few years later, they start house hunting again, and they want to kick themselves because they didn't buy that property. It was only 700,000 Rand then, and now it's up to 1.2. And they're thinking, if only. Hindsight's wonderful. It's always good to like, I should have done this, I should have done that. But those are the two outcomes. One, you basically don't commit and you lose the house. And the other outcome is where you actually literally never buy. I have some clients that I've been working with for many years, and they have that difficulty because what happens if another house comes along that's actually nicer or a better house or a better price? So that's actually quite interesting in terms of how people actually make those decisions. I had one client who they were one of those they had difficulty in commitment and they had difficulty in making decisions.
Yes, yes.
Possibly because there were too many people advising them, family members. We spoke about that previously, about too many people making decisions. I showed them 42 houses.
42.
That was my record. And I don't think there was another house on the market that they hadn't seen. That was during the time when the interest rate was high and we had a lot of options.
Oh, the options.
Yeah,
Just to disturb you a bit, it reminds me of someone. There was a person that I used to listen to, like their, I think their speeches and stuff like that. And he would say that if you maybe let's say you are lost and there is only one path or one route to take, you definitely go for it.
Absolutely.
But now, if you are in a desert, you can like there's so many ways you can take, so it becomes a difficult. Like a difficult you get into a difficult position because now you don't know which route to take.
Absolutely.
So it goes back to what you're saying, that at that time, because we had a lot of stock, we had a lot of properties for sale, then it made it even harder.
It was almost too many choices and it becomes overwhelming. But choice is good, but however, if you only have 4 properties that fulfill your wish list, you won't be as overwhelmed. I've also found over the years that we get different types of purchases. Some that would actually just immediately see a property and decide, that's it, I'm going to buy this property. They're very impulsive.
Yeah.
They don't always do their homework. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got those that second guess and they take a very long time to decide. Both come with problems. And then in between on the spectrum are the clients that come, they make a rational decision, they've looked at a few houses, they know what they want, and then they move forward. So we don't want to be impulsive, but we also don't want to wait forever, because we have to realize that property that you like may not be there tomorrow. So it's quite important to actually do that. What I like to do with my clients is I like to reassure them to say, it is a big decision. And I ask them to actually look at 3 columns. One would be, what must you have in a house? What's the absolute essential feature in a house that you must have? It might be it has to have a swimming pool, or it has to have a double garage or 2 bathrooms. Then the next column is, what would you like it to have? Well, I'd like it to have quite a level garden, or so it's not essential, but it actually I would like that.
Oh, yes.
And then the third column would basically be, it's not essential. So if it doesn't have a jacuzzi, I'm okay with that. So once we've got those 3 columns, we then ask clients to have a look at the house that they've seen, select their top 4, and then decide which of those houses tick most of their boxes. And I say to clients, you're not going to find a house that fulfills all your wishes or tick all your boxes, but find the one that ticks the most boxes for you. And then you commit and you stop shopping around and you just focus on, that was my decision, and you move forward. So it's important to actually be objective. However, you do reach a stage where you have to say, I've done my homework, this is the house I want, and I know that there are certain things that not quite what I was looking for, but I can make changes, and there are things I can do about changing it to suit my lifestyle or my family.
Makes sense. So from your experience, what is it that like buyers need to prioritize between like the location and the actual house? What is like more important between the two?
Finding the right house, finding the house that's actually in the right area. I can change a house, but I can't change the location. I'd love to be able to cut and paste. And many times I've had clients say, this is what I want in a particular property. I find them the property, but it's actually in the wrong area. So it's important to be able to say, we need to look at location and find which one's going to actually suit your particular needs. So location is incredibly important. And I think it's important also when you're looking in your house hunting to look at the cluster. What is important? Must it be near the schools? Do you want it as close to the highway access? And what's important to me in location might not be important to you. It depends on where I work, where my children go to school, or what my work hours are, whether I work shifts and I'd like to be in in a area that is a lot safer than others, and those are priorities for me. So it's important to actually look at the location for you, and it will differ from person to person in terms of what their needs are. It's also, I also say to clients, be vigilant about your area. So when you go into a particular suburb, whether you've lived in this town forever, look at the suburb, the people and the place and the area objectively. Be vigilant. Look and see if there's a lot of foot traffic. Maybe there's a lot of people walking a shortcut to get through to the public transport, across the field in front of your home. Look and see if there are any noisy restaurants or taverns around. So you need to look at it. Don't just look at the house. The house is in a bigger environment, and then look and see how it actually is located. And we sometimes find clients they really do get excited. It's a wonderful experience to buy a house, but you've got to look around and say, okay, so this might not be the right area or location for me. So I need to think about that and be mindful of that and be vigilant as to whether it's going to actually suit my needs in terms of for my family as well. In terms of, sometimes people want to live close to the highway. Others will say the highway noise would worry them. So those are sort of very important things to actually look at in terms of finding the right location. And as I say, we just have to do our homework. Often I'll find that clients I show them a property and then they'll say to me, is this a safe area? Now, it's important for clients to do their homework. There are sites that you go on to look at crime stats for the particular area. I would look at that myself as an agent and tell them what I've read up and what I found out about the area. But I think it's important for them to find that out for themselves as to what the stats are in the area. The big one they often ask me is it very noisy here, or is there a lot of traffic at night? Now, I don't live in the home, so the best people to ask will be neighbors. Sellers will also say, gosh, after 10 o'clock, there's absolutely no traffic. So maybe they're near a school, and you'll find that during the morning and pickup time, there's a lot of traffic, and then it actually dissipates through, towards the evening. But those are questions that you need to ask the neighbors and ask people around there, ask friends to say, I'm thinking about buying in this area. What have you heard? What do you think? And just to find out a little bit more about what it's like in other times during the day. We often view properties during the day. We might go and view a property on a Monday morning. I say to clients, I want you to come back on Saturday afternoon or Sunday morning or Friday night, because the dynamic changes, particularly in if it's in an estate or if there's a block of flats. Monday morning, everyone's at work. Friday afternoon, they're coming back from work, and you have to try and assess as to how much noise is there, what's happening, what type of people are living in that particular complex, so that you can feel that you fit in and that it actually is not going to cause a disturbance for you. So try and visit the property at different times during the week, during the weekend. Often I take a client through, if they're working, and they go through on a Saturday afternoon, and I say, this is a perfect time. Everyone's home. Now you listen. What do you think? There's no problem with the congestion for the parking in the estate, and that's a really good acid test as to whether it's a good location for them to be in as well. I also think as well that there are occasions where I've had clients that have had regrets. Sometimes they don't fully comprehend the impact that certain things in the environment would have on them. So if I sell a property that's near an airport, we know there are planes coming all day. When we viewed it, there wasn't a plane, but they know there's an airport. But they only realize the effect that will have when they're actually living in the property. The railway lines are a big one, because sometimes we think our railway system doesn't work, but there are trains still running. One could try and get the train schedule. Because no, they're not running at 2 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, but 10 o'clock at night, you might have the train going past. Yeah. So those are important ones. For me, I think the best one, it was fantastic. I sold this house to this family, and they were really excited. And we really did. We looked at the area, the location, the proximity to their work, proximity to the school for the children, and we did our homework. They also looked at crime stats. It was for them the perfect place to actually invest and buy their first family home. About 2 weeks after they moved in, I got a phone call, and the wife phoned me to say, "Oh, no, we're not happy." And I said, "No, I can't understand. We've done our homework. You've got a lovely home. You had extra room for your hobbies. It's close to the schools. You haven't got a lot of traffic, and it's really ideal. I mean, your husband could get onto the highway to go work in Durban. What's the problem?" No. Every night, every morning, early in the morning, the hodidars make such a big noise. The hodidars, the birds.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Yes, they were nesting in the tree. I cannot actually mitigate everything. I had to laugh, and I said, "I'm so sorry about the hodidars. That's South Africa, and we have those birds, and they do make a noise, and they make a noise very, very early in the morning." So we try to do our homework, but we might not know everything about the wildlife.
Yeah. Actually, that was tough. That was a tough one. So you know what happened after our first episode? I took one of my buyers to one of the complexes in town, and then when we were there, I was showing him. I was supposed to show him, I think, four properties, but I ended up showing him two because of the other two. The tenants were not available, unfortunately. And then when we were, he was with his friends, and his friends were like, "No, man, you need to buy now. We've been doing this for quite some time." And he's saying that, "I know, I listened to this guy's podcast, and the lady that he was interviewing said you must look at the levies. So now where are the levies here?" And we checked the levies were like around 2 grand. He was like, "No." But in my mind, I was like, wow, that was like amazing. Because I was going to overlook that as an agent and think that he's aware, just assume that he's aware. But he was not aware that the levies are outside of the bond repayment. So if he actually bought that flat, he was going to be in trouble because he was not going to expect the 2 grand that was going to be required by the body corporate. And I was like, wow, that was really amazing. But then today I thought maybe since we are speaking about the buyers, first time buyers, we can take a look at their finances and in terms of like what is it that they need to prepare, and also what are hidden costs that people don't usually talk about that they can be aware of as well.
Absolutely. And I think you're quite right. We sometimes just assume people would, our clients would actually know the fact that the levy cannot be actually added onto the bond. We make those assumptions incorrectly. With regards to the levies, it's also important when we are discussing the costs to the buyer, it's important that they realize that those levies are payable every month. It's not a once-off charge. It's not a once-off charge. So it's important that they understand that. So they look at the price of the house. They look at what their bond repayment would be.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. I can still pay the school fees. I can buy groceries. That's awesome. But you've got to factor in the other costs, such as the rates, which will be paid monthly, as well as the levies that we paid monthly. And it's important to actually be aware of those when we just to unpack the levy issue. So with regards to levies, we touched this last time. Levies will cover things like the insurance on the building.
Yes.
Not the laptop that's been stolen, just the insurance on the building. So just not content, but the building costs. So that'll have insurance as part of the levy. The levy will also include things like security, geyser insurance, and things like that. So it does in garden services often. But each development in a state is different. So you mustn't assume because the grass is being cut in that estate that's also being cut in this estate. So you need to be careful that it's not just a hard and fast rule that all states or all blocks of land operate the same way. So those levies are quite important to actually see what they cover. Now, I'm going to speak to, I know the development you went into, and I'm going to just explain why that levy is 2,000 Rand.
Oh, yeah.
So what we have in the levies is, in that particular development, they've got prepaid electricity, which is fantastic. So it means that you don't have electricity billed on your municipal account.
Yeah, yeah.
Your tenant or you will buy tokens and you'll put it into your prepaid. Works really nicely. On your electricity account, your municipal account, if you were in a freestanding home, you would see that there's something called an amperage charge, which means it's actually a standard charge that is charged for the electricity to come to that particular house or complex. So on your electricity, so if you bought a freestanding house, your electricity account will have that on there. In this particular development, they've put the amperage charge on the levy account. So if you took that amperage charge that normally would be in your municipal account, if you took it out of that levy amount, it's not that bad. All right.
I see.
Another cost on the levies, which one must also look at quite clearly, and often sellers don't always know exactly what the charges are. They'll know the sum amount, or this is how much we pay every month. But you need to break it down, and they'll say the geyser insurance is this much, and then the levy is that much, the amperage charge, and you can go through the different sections of the levy. What you also need to look at on a levy is the fact that they have to, in many instances, many of the developments and complexes have to actually, everyone contributes towards a reserve fund. We have to have a minimum amount in a particular estate or development, which is money kept for an emergency. Okay? So emergency, like say, for example, if there is a major problem with the roof and the insurance is not covering it, and they've got to actually subsidize and actually do things with the roof, for example, or the swimming pool needs to be relined, or if there's a major problem. So that is basically contributing towards a reserve fund. So in this particular complex that you're talking about, there is a reserve fund amount. So if you break it down and you look at the levy, it's not as bad as what people think, but you've got to understand the individual costs on that levy. Another one that people just might not be aware of, particularly the sellers won't be aware of, which is why it's always a good idea to phone the managing agents to find out. I'm talking about a special levy. Yeah. So sometimes there's a major renovation that needs to happen in a particular complex, and at the AGM they decide to raise a special levy to cover the cost of whatever renovation. They might decide they want to put extra security fencing around the complex, and they've got quotes and so forth. So special levies can then be instituted once it's actually been decided and voted on by all the owners. So sometimes if you're buying into a particular complex, it's important to find out, is there a special levy currently? And when does it end? So they might be raising extra money for 2 years, and you buying at the beginning of that period. Yeah. So you're actually in for an extra 500 Rand for the next 2 years. So special levies are important to actually be aware of them and what the time frame is for them to actually reach conclusion. The managing agents can also tell us what the future special levies. They might be planning a project, so it's not on your levy statement yet. They might say in 6 months' time we're going to start instituting a special levy. Those are the ones that actually are the curveballs that we need to actually watch out for.
So you get into a complex thinking that the levies are like 1,000, but in 6 months they will 1.5 because of the special levy that is coming on. Absolutely. So you have to check those things.
You must check those things. And the best place to find that out is go straight to the managing agents and find out from them exactly what's happening. Sometimes we get sellers that are really, really very keen sellers. And to try and help with the sale, they might put in the sale agreement that they will actually pay the special levy for the purchaser for that period.
Oh yes.
until the end of that
Yeah,
special
because it's
levy
a
being issued.
special thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So sometimes sellers say, I really want to
yeah.
sell. I
I
don't
would,
want you to actually lose the sale
hmm.
because of the special levy. Let me help them out.
Yeah, I would think that that's fair enough, especially if the special levy is for is to fix something that was broken. You were not
Absolutely,
there, so it
absolutely,
doesn't make sense. You just got there,
absolutely.
and then you're
Yeah,
like now paying for the swimming pool that you were not using.
yeah, and you won't be
Yeah,
benefiting from it as well. Yeah.
yeah, but
So
unfortunately,
yeah,
sometimes that's not necessarily the case.
absolutely. So I think that's probably the first hidden cost will be the levies and the rates, the special levies as well.
Oh, okay.
And then I think the other costs, which I think we discuss with our clients, is in terms of the legal costs, the transfer costs, and the bond registration costs.
Mm.
We are fortunate now where we can add those onto the bond if they don't have the money available for the legal costs. It does give them a slightly higher interest rate when the bond grants are coming across.
Mm.
But those are things that we need to actually be mindful of, the fact that you're going to have to pay the legal costs as well. There's another cost. You might remember this. We had this discussion about the bond initiation cost. It's
Oh,
about
yes.
6,000 Rand or plus
Yes,
minus.
yes, yes.
So that will come on the quote from the bank,
Mm.
and often it's included into the
Oh,
bond.
yes, yes, yes. Okay,
Some
now I
people
remember
choose
that
to
one
say,
now.
I'd like to pay it and don't add it onto the bond because obviously your interest is going to
So good.
actually accumulate with an additional amount. So that's basically the bond initiation cost as well.
Oh, yeah.
Once you've got your bond grant, sometimes the bank will say for that particular person or complex, we want you to have a life insurance policy. So that will be a condition of the bond, which means you're not just paying your rates, your levies, and you're paying your repayment of your bond or your legal costs. You now have to have a monthly life insurance policy. Okay,
Oh,
so
so
sometimes that could
so
also be factored in,
mm,
absolutely,
oh,
which we
so
need to be
does that
aware of.
depend on the bank that is offering
Depends,
you your
absolutely,
bond? Oh, okay.
absolutely. So it's not in every instance.
Mm,
Um, just coming back to that insurance, on the levy. So the levy will have insurance for the building. I've recently done a transfer where it's a block of flats, and in my 16 years, I've never ever come across uh, a levy that doesn't include insurance. So I, I automatically assume, because I assumed for 16 years, there will
mm,
be insurance on the building
yeah,
because there's a managing agent, the body corporate, we've got insurance for the
yeah,
building.
yeah.
It actually turned out that this particular block of flats actually didn't have insurance for the building. And the reason being, it was in a very bad state of repair. So, with all sexual title, they have to have a 10-year maintenance plan. So, they're going to say what they're
Mm.
going to be repairing.
Oh,
This
yes, yes.
particular block of flats, they didn't have a lot of reserve in their reserve fund. So the
Mm.
insurance company actually refused to insure the building because they hadn't done their maintenance and kept up their maintenance plan. So I
Mm.
had this lovely lady buying her first property, and I said to her, it includes insurance, your levy, you don't have to worry
As
about that.
usual. Mm.
Special condition in the bond, read the fine print. Special
Mm.
condition, she needs to have insurance
Insurance.
for her section of the block.
Since the whole block doesn't have the insurance, so
Absolutely.
now she has to pay for your.
First time in 16 years that's happened.